you understand the criticism of the ad in the sense that you use a quote and you cut the quote off in half, and what your ad is doing is insinuating that Gary Palmer was in favor of the Amendment 1 tax increase promoted by Bob Riley.
Well, the ad does not say that he was for or against Amendment 1. What we wanted to do was, and I, as a conservative, I myself was surprised, and that's why we used that quote to say his opinion about taxes and that he would support taxes or during that time, not necessarily for or against Amendment 1, but that was his quote and his
Do you
words.
have the ad over there, Buddy Love? Slip your headphones on there, Paul, because the ad says on the issue of Amendment 1, here's what he said. I don't want to belabor the point necessarily, but it uses it's from a 2003 Tuscaloosa News article. And you got it, buddy? All right, yeah, play that.
Here's what Gary Palmer wrote about the billion-dollar tax increase called Amendment 1.
To the surprise of many of my conservative friends and colleagues, I'm of the opinion that the state needs more revenue. I would be willing to support a tax increase.
Gary Palmer,
all right, stop it right there. It says on the issue of Amendment number 1.
Well, that's what the quote was about.
And the latter portion of the quote was, unfortunately, the proposal currently before the people of Alabama falls well short of the mark. See, the thing, Paul, is, and the reason it stands out to me is it's unlike you. This is deceptive.
Well, no, those are his words, and I think it's up to Gary to decide which tax he's for or against. That's why we used his words. Those aren't my words. Those are his words that we used that he gave back, what year did, back in 2003.
2003.
Yeah. During that debate, he said he would support some taxes. It would be up to him to decide or to tell you or to clarify which taxes he was for or against. But the point of the ad is that he said he would support taxes.
Okay. Let me change the subject for a second.
Okay.
Where are you on the issue of man-made climate change, global warming?
On climate?
Yeah.
Where am I on climate change? You talking about
yes.
the whole global warming?
The concept of man-made global warming.
Well, I think we've discussed during the debate or during the campaign, where we are when it comes to for example, the president's administration, the war on coal.
Right.
That he wants to get rid of coal. If we get rid of coal in the state of Alabama, that's 60% of the energy in the state of Alabama. I'm opposed to that, because some of the science they use is questionable. And so I think we are concerned about that, and I'm concerned about that, as well as other folks in the state of Alabama are concerned about what science they use to question why we should not have coal.
I have you quoted as saying global warming is causing the conflict in Syria. Is that accurate?
No.
Do you want to hear? You want to hear you saying it? Play the clip.
Global warming is causing the conflict in Syria.
Is that accurate? Is that fair? What I just did to you?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. So
I have you. You just said it.
Global warming is causing the conflict in Syria.
Is that wrong of me to do that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I have you saying that global warming is causing the conflict in Syria. Do you stand by that statement or not?
I don't know when that was said or what.
It was on our show earlier this year. I also have you saying that we are going to punish the citizens and these veterans. Would you like for me to play you that clip? Let's play the clip.
We're going to punish the citizens and these veterans.
Is that accurate? Is that you?
I can't. Is that you're playing a tape of me?
On our show. I mean, you can hear it, can't you?
I can hear what you're playing.
Right. I also have you saying that you are willing to negotiate with Iran. Is that accurate?
No.
Play the clip.
I'm willing to negotiate with Iran.
What I'm doing to you right now is wrong, isn't it?
I'm listening to what you're saying here, and we had an ad that quoted Gary Palmer regarding his position.
I just quoted you regarding your position.
Well,
you believe global warming is causing conflict in Syria, you're going to punish veterans, and you're willing to negotiate with Iran.
The point of the ad was his words regarding taxes.
The point that I'm trying to make, Paul, is this isn't like you. And it's horribly disappointing to people that know you, that you would resort to the tactics that you've resorted to.
We're not resorting to any tactics. We're during a campaign, and we're pointing out Gary's position on taxes. You know, that's an issue in this campaign, and we've run this ad. Those are his words. During that time, he talked
I just
about
quoted your words.
Taxes.
Do you believe that global warming is causing conflict in Syria? Yes or no?
No. What you're doing is taking words. What we're doing is we've run what he said.
No. Tell
taxes.
me what I'm doing again.
Well,
I'm taking your words out of context?
No.
Am I taking your words out of context?
These words weren't taken out of context. He did say he supported taxes.
The final portion of the quote clearly states he was against Amendment 1, Paul.
We didn't say he was for Amendment 1.
That ad doesn't insinuate that he's for Amendment 1, Paul.
We did not say he was for Amendment 1.
This is so unlike you. This negativity and this deception is so unlike you. I don't understand why you feel necessary to do this. Why do you feel this is necessary?
Matt, we point out his word that Gary Palmer said he was for taxes at the time. It doesn't say he was for or against Amendment 1. The ad clearly does not say that. It was said during the context. That's when he said those words. And as for negativity, it's quoting his words that he supported taxes during the time. And there are other occasions he did that. So that's what the ad does. You know, to say something is negative when you're clearly just trying to show the words of your opponent, that's what that ad does.
This is beyond negative. This is deceitful. It's deceit. Chuck Dean referred to it as a lie on Friday. How do you respond to that?
Those are his words, Gary Palmer's words regarding taxes.
I got your words regarding global warming, your words involving punishing veterans. Is that fair to quote you like this?
Well, the difference is he said he did support taxes. You know I do not agree with those, because I was making a comment. He said he did support taxes, and he has said he supported taxes on occasion. That's the difference, man. That's the difference. You're taking words.
Play the ad again where he says, on Amendment 1, this is what he said. Go.
Here's what Gary Palmer wrote about the billion-dollar tax increase called Amendment 1.
To the surprise of many of my conservative friends and colleagues, I am of the opinion that the state needs more revenue. I would be willing to support a tax increase.
But only on the condition that we first set in place some meaningful accountability measures. Unfortunately, the proposal currently before the people of Alabama falls well short of the mark. See, the problem, Paul, is that I was there in 2003. I was at the rally at the Winfrey Hotel with 3,000 people. And I remember Gary Palmer being there. And Gary Palmer was against Bob Riley's Amendment number 1. I don't remember you there.
That's a good point, because I wasn't involved in politics back then. Gary was. I mean, I haven't been doing this for 25, 30 years. I mean, Gary has been involved in politics for 25, 30 years. I have not. Now, that's one of the points, and I'm glad you brought that point up. I have not been involved in politics for 25 or 30 years. I've served in the State House for 8 years.
But you don't believe that the explicit insinuation in your ad is that he was against Amendment number 1. You don't believe that's the case?
No. The ad points out he said during that time that he would support some revenue. And the question for Gary is, what revenue, what taxes would he increase?
I'll ask Gary that question.
Yeah.
I don't think that's for you to answer.
Well, no.
But
no,
it's for
not,
you
it's
to
not
answer. You have to answer for your ad.
And I do answer for my ad, and I say the difference is what you're doing is I've never said I would support those.
You did. I got you on tape.
Yeah. He said that he would support
You did.
revenue.
I mean, it's easy to pull things out of context, Paul.
But he did say he would support revenue. That's the difference.
This is so very unlike you.
No.
I mean, this is not you. This doesn't feel like you. You're a straight shooter. You're an honest guy. This ad is deceptive, Paul.
No, it's not. It uses his words, and it points out that he said he supported taxes. Gary said he supported taxes. And the question are, which taxes does he support? He may not have supported $1 billion worth of taxes, but what taxes would he support? Property taxes, income taxes? I don't know. He did say he supported it, but the ad does not say he supported it.
The second half of the ad deals with your position on tax increases. Let's listen to the second half of the spot.
Support a tax increase.
Gary Palmer, he hasn't gone to Washington yet, but he already speaks the language.
Paul DeMarco, an Alabama conservative. Paul stood up to his own party against a tax increase. He'll do the same in Congress.
I'm Paul DeMarco. I approve this message.
Talk to us about the standing up against your own party, the Republicans.
Well, there have been several occasions where I did not necessarily agree with my party, and I disagree with the party.
I mean, specifically, what tax increase are you talking about?
Well, one of the taxes, and there were a number of them, but one of them was the occupational tax on a number of occasions, both back in the original, back in 2008, 2009. For starters, when that came back up, I opposed that tax and was opposed to that tax.
See, I don't remember you being opposed to that tax. I remember Jabbo Wagner coming on the show and telling me he wasn't sure where you were on it.
Okay, you don't remember seeing multiple occasions where editorials where I was criticized for being opposed to the occupational tax. I was called names for opposing the occupational tax. There were multiple occasions where I was criticized for being opposed to occupational tax.
I remember Scott Beeson got hung with destroying Jefferson County for killing the occupational tax.
But before it got to Scott, it had to pass out of the House, and me and myself and others voted no on the occupational tax before it got to
Did you
Scott.
ever meet with Jefferson County officials talking about an occupational tax fix?
Well, as chairman of the Jefferson County delegation, we met with lots of folks to talk about it after the tax was repealed. We were trying to figure out what to do next. And most of us, and where I was the ultimate fix is where the ultimate fix still is to unearmark tax dollars, not to raise or to come back with an occupational tax. Jefferson County could live without an occupational tax and can live with an occupational tax. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. The lines at the courthouses. The county's talking about opening up a new center at the Hoover Met. They're doing that without an occupational tax. So Jefferson County can live without an occupational tax, does not need an occupational tax.
So I understand that. I mean, you're obviously on record voting against it, right? I mean, was there ever a vote in the House?
Yes, there was. Before it got to the Senate, it had to pass through the House.
And it passed the House.
Yeah, but not with my vote, nor with other Republicans' votes.
But you could have coalesced with 3 other Republicans and stopped it from passing the House. You chose not to do that.
There were no other Republicans.
It takes four. It takes 4. So there were no other Republicans that were against it?
No, there were other Republicans that were opposed to it.
But you guys didn't coalesce together and stop it in the House. You waited for it to stop in the Senate.
Well, it may have passed the Senate. And the second time.
Blow it out. Blow it out.
And the second time, it passed through the Senate and came to the House. So the second time the bill came, it wasn't stopped in the Senate. So the first time it passed out of the House and then went to the Senate. And then the second time the bill passed through the Senate and came to the House. And during that time in the House, it didn't pass. So I was opposed to it. I'm on record opposed to it. Multiple occasions. Was actually attacked. Jim Carnes and I were attacked in the Birmingham News on several occasions for opposing the occupational tax.
You said in the justification for the piece that we've been talking about that it has been made abundantly clear over the last few days that the powers that be feel very threatened by our congressional campaign. Who do you think that is? Who is that? The powers that be.
Well, I think there are a number of folks who are opposed to me, and they support my opponent in this race. But that's all right. We've got support.
I mean, I'm just specifically, who are the powers that be?
Well, I think
that feel threatened by your opponent?
Well, I think my opponent and others.
But you're the one that's throwing attack ads. I haven't seen a single attack ad by Gary Palmer.
No. Okay. the Club for Growth, an outside group, is coming in, just like
who Gary Palmer can't have any association with, as you well know. You understand how these things work.
Well, just like they did in the race before with Chad Mathis, they came in and attacked all the candidates.
And that was unfair, wasn't it? Calling you a tax increaser, $138 million in new taxes and fees. You felt like that was unfair because it mischaracterized your record on taxes, didn't it?
I think the public does not want groups coming in from Washington, D.C., as they did in...
But Chad Mathis himself, the candidate himself, promoted you as a tax increaser. And that was a lie, wasn't it?
Well, it wouldn't be any different than if the Club for Growth, what they're doing now, attacking me during this case. And so I don't think the public wants outside groups coming in from Washington, D.C., coming in and involved in this race and trying to pick the congressman, because that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
This group from Washington, D.C. has decided to support Gary Palmer, and they want to come in and
well,
push Gary Palmer.
You have plenty of Washington, D.C. groups that are supporting you, too.
No, I'm talking about this Club for Growth.
I understand,
group.
but you have national Washington, D.C. groups. I mean, you
no,
don't.
Most of
what about the NRA? You don't want the NRA's support?
No, I didn't say that. I said I'm talking about running these ads.
Well, I understand. You're just kind of cherry picking which Washington, D.C. groups are okay and which aren't.
No, we're talking about the one running ads.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Is what's running ads.
But Chad Mathis specifically, it was wrong for Chad Mathis to mischaracterize your position on taxes.
Because I'm opposed to taxes.
Right. And you're mischaracterizing Gary Palmer's position on Amendment Number 1.
I didn't say it was for Amendment or for or against Amendment 1.
Are you?
What I quoted
Paul,
was his position.
I am shocked that you're defending this. In this way, I really am. And frankly, I think informed voters of this community. I was there. Gary Palmer appeared on my show during Amendment Number 1. He said he steadfastly refused to accept Amendment Number 1 under extreme pressure with Bob Riley and the rest of the Republican Party pushing it. The Business Council of Alabama. I'm sure there are many members of the Business Council of Alabama that are supporting your candidacy today. They were in favor of Amendment Number 1.
The ad is not about Amendment 1. The ad is about his position on taxes.
Mischaracterizing his position on taxes.
No, he says he supports.
It's just this easy.
No, the difference is I never said I was for that. He does say he's for
taxes. Did. You said global warming's causing conflict in Syria. You said you're willing to negotiate with Iran. I mean, Paul.
Gary Palmer on multiple occasions said he was for taxes. So Quinn Hillier, who supports Gary Palmer, said Gary Palmer's for taxes. That's the issue, is Gary Palmer said he was for taxes. It's not about Amendment 1. It's about taxes. That's
and you've never favored a tax increase.
I don't.
Have you ever sponsored a tax increase?
I'm not going to Washington, D.C.
Have you ever sponsored a tax increase?
Which tax increase?
I'm asking you, yes or no, have you ever sponsored a tax increase?
During the course of the 8 years, I was opposed to taxes.
Have you ever sponsored a tax increase?
During the course of 8 years,
Paul,
I was not
for goodness sake,
taxes,
it's a yes or no question. If you can't answer a yes or no question for me, who's going to control you in Washington, D.C.? If you can't answer a simple, have you ever sponsored a tax increase, yes or no?
I would have to go back. I think during the course.
I have your. I'm about to, 2011.
During the course of it, the issue about occupational taxes, there were folks asking about business license, about a vote on the occupational tax. But again, at the end of the day, we opposed it and we stopped the occupational tax.
But you did vote in favor of the new business license fees.
We reduced the business license by about 50%.
No, the business license fee was gone. You had to re-up. That's why you had to vote on it and re-up.
And it was going to be reinstated. And if it had been reinstated, we lowered the business tax. And so that's the thing. You can ask anybody that's paying business license. We lowered it by about 50% of where it was before. So I'm proud of the fact that we did that. We had the business license tax. It was going to be reinstated higher. We reinstated it at a lower amount. Business
license tax was at 0, and it went up. So
Jefferson County businesses are paying lower business license.
Paul, I know you a long time. I like you a long time. I'm
Good.
Horribly disappointed in you during this campaign. Horribly disappointed. I don't know what else to say.